Hello, 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 and welcome back to Whisper with me, ASMR. Welcome back to the channel, guys. You are so very welcome. If it's your first time here, please don't forget to subscribe for more awesome whispered content. If you're enjoying the content so far and you want to support me in a different way, you can press the join button beside the subscribe button, or the link is also in the description. There you get access to my channel memberships, which is basically 2 exclusive videos per month only for channel members. Shout out at the end of every video, exclusive badges depending on how long you've been a member, and also exclusive emojis. If you want to support me in a different way, there's no channel membership, you can also buy me a coffee, and the link is also in the description as well. Just letting you know, I just say at the end start of every video as per usual, just because to get some, to let you know the options are. But of course, just liking, subscribing, commenting, whatever, watching is enough to support me, of course. And it's free. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get straight into it, because this is what happens. I usually do 2 videos in a row, and then the first one I've blabbered a bit, so the second one's like, I really should get to the point now. Like already said what I wanted to say, but yeah, it's my rest day. You can tell, probably hair the same, whatever. I'm pre-filming. Actually, same this shirt, but I put different over. Depending, different jumper, different this not jumper, but yeah. Give my secrets away. Well, you can know, but whatever. But yeah, it's my rest day today, so I'm just filming some videos. I did, even on Sunday when I did like a workout or hip flow yoga, whatever, I still did 2 videos that day. So technically, if I want to do more, I could do 3 today. But I think I'll just stop at 2. It's a good number. I'm not behind, whatever. So yeah, what I think I'll do in my spare time is I might make a dessert, because I usually have a dessert on the go to eat from, to have snacks from, etc. Especially since I'm running so much, it's good to get some extra calories in. Yummy as well. I'm a little hungry between meals, etc. But I haven't got the chance this week. I finished my other ones at the start of the week, and it's already Friday, and I haven't got the chance really to make another one. I've just been kind of tired, and I've been filming the videos every day, doing my workouts, and then I've kept being really tired, so I have to keep napping and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we're moving past the tired stage of the month, even though I feel a bit tired. I think full force ahead, I'll be on my high energy weeks to come, so that's good. So no more naps, hopefully, except, after super long run. Either way, the point is I might make my millionaire shortbreads today. And if you guys haven't made millionaire shortbread, I so recommend it. This lovely vegan version. If you look up millionaire shortbread, I think it was even a Twix maybe recipe, I don't know, inspired by that, but either way. So yeah, it's like the base, basically almond flour originally, but because nuts are a bit expensive or whatever, I wanted to cut it with something else. I now do like 1 cup oat flour, 1 cup ground almonds, and then it's not the healthiest recipe for sure, because other layers is like peanut butter, sweetener, coconut oil, and the top is like chocolate. But it's so good. Everyone loves it. When I have it, my mom doesn't usually always have my dessert, but she's having more of my desserts like every day. I'm like, after her lunch, she doesn't eat early in the day, but after lunch I'll be like, oh, do you want a caramel shortbread? And she'll be like, ooh, I feel like she's more inclined to like that, and she said she might even get me to make them for her birthday, so that definitely means it's high on her list. But yeah, I mean, actually her birthday is coming up, so if I make them now, I might make them twice in a row. If she did want that, maybe she wants something else, I don't really know. I am the family dessert maker or whatever. As long as your request is vegan, or you have a request, I'll find a vegan version, I'll make a vegan version. And that's how it goes, and there's never really been any complaints, all have been well received. So yeah, I will be getting into the video. I'm just excited for those millionaire shortbreads. If I make them, I probably should now. I wanted to make them yesterday when I had the oven on, because literally the base is baked for like 10 minutes, but that's the only time the oven needs to be on. The rest is just layers in the fridge. It's a little time consuming just because you have to wait for one layer to like cool down, solidify, whatever to put for the next layer on. But there were so many things to make for yesterday's dinner, so even though I had space in the oven, technically, it wasn't really, good time to make the shortbread. But yeah, now we are going on to a true crime kind of video. So because I did solved cases that were solved in 2023, we're gonna have to do unsolved cases. And so if you want me to elaborate on any of these, I will in another video. If some of these I think will be repeats, at least one I know because I just saw it, of one of my true crime videos, of course the unsolved ones, because it only unsolved ones on this list. But yeah, they've said they compiled 44, but it says 50 in the title. I don't really know. But yeah, I think I'll just read the ones that I haven't done in videos, and if you want me to expand on any of them in a full-length video, let me know. But yeah, 2001 anthrax attacks, and there's like a picture of special reward up to $2.5 million, information leading to So beginning on September 18, 2001, a week after the September 11 attack on the World Trade Center, letters containing anthrax spores were received by 2 US senators and several media outlets, injuring 17 people and killing 5. The FBI called the investigation that ensued one of the largest and most complex in the history of law enforcement. On April 11, 2007, Bruce Edwards Ivins, a scientist at the government biodefense labs at Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland, was put under periodic surveillance, and FBI documents stated that he was an extremely sensitive suspect in the 2001 anthrax attacks. In July 29, 2008, Ivins died by suicide with an overdose of acetaminophen. Federal prosecutors declared Ivins sole culprit on August 8, 2008, based on DNA evidence leading to an anthrax vial in his lab. The FBI formally closed its investigation on February 19, 2010. In 2008, the FBI requested a review of the scientific methods used in their investigation from the National Academy of Sciences, which released their findings in the report in 2011. The report cast doubt on the government's conclusion that Ivins was the perpetrator, finding the type of anthrax used in the letters was correctly identifiable as the AIM strain of the bacterium, but there was insufficient scientific evidence for the FBI's assertion that it originated from Ivins' laboratory. I don't actually know what anthrax is. It's crazy. They just mail that and like how people got injured. Oh. Okay. Okay, so it's some kind of virus that's very rare but fatal. So, the Keddy murders in 1981 in cabin 28 of the Keddy Resort, California. 3 members of the Sharp family, as well as one of their family friends, were bludgeoned to death with hammers, with one repeatedly stabbed. Whoever attacked them bound them with medical tape. Along with the 3 murders, the younger Sharp daughter, Tina, 12, was reported missing. Tina's body was found 3 years later, miles away from the murder scene. The murders are remembered for their particular viciousness and the lack of motive behind them. The 2 prime suspects in the case have since died, and the case remains unsolved to this day. The Houston Icebox Killer. Charles Rogers disappeared in June 1965 after police discovered the dismembered bodies of his elderly parents in the refrigerator of the Houston home they shared. The media named the crime the Icebox Murders, and Rogers was declared dead in absentia in July 1975. He remains the only suspect and has never been found. Next up, we have done the next up one, so we're gonna skip that. So, Kiliki Asari murder. Even though like new people could find my video, so they might have not watched my full-length true crime on it, I'll just skip ones I've already done. Last seen alive on May 17, 1953 in Isojoki, Finland. sorry for all the mispronunciations, was riding her bike home from a prayer meeting when she was apparently attacked. The murderer was never found, even though the story received significant media attention. Her remains were discovered up in a bog on October 11th, 1953. Later that summer, her bicycle was found in a marshy area. So, Lake Bottom murders. So, 4 teenagers were camping on the shores of Lake Bottom in Finland on June 5th, 1960, when an unknown group or individual murdered 3 of them with a knife and a blunt instrument. The 4th boy, Nils Wilhelm Gustafsson, survived the attack and led a relatively normal life. He became a suspect in 2004. All charges were dropped in 2005, therefore the Lake Bottom murders case still remains unsolved. The Bear Brook murders. On November 10th, 1985, a hunter found a metal 55-gallon drum near the site of a burned-down store at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. Inside were either partially or completely skeletized bodies of an adult female and young girl wrapped in plastic. Autopsies determined both had died of blunt trauma between 1977 and 1985. 15 years later, another metal drum was discovered 100 feet away. This one contained the bodies of 2 more young girls, one of whom was related to the people found in 1985. The 4 victims bore no relation to the others. The killer has never been identified, and the case is still unsolved. So, the Tam Shud case. On December 1st, 1948, near Somerton Beach, south of Adelaide in South Australia, an unknown man was found dead. The phrase "Daman should finished" in Persian was printed on a small piece of paper in one of his pockets, with a mystic code written on another side. The man has never been identified, and the code has not been deciphered yet. Investigators never found the killer or killers, nor have they ever found the motive behind the killing. The next one up, we have done another before, but it was like in a unsolved mysteries video, I believe, because there was a few true crime things in those. So Elisa Lam, yeah, we mentioned her just I'm not sure it would be yesterday, but in the film I just videoed, it said something related to internet mysteries, and I said it's about Hotel Cecile, and it is. I did want to do a true crime video on this, but there wasn't a lot of info about it. It was very mysterious or something like that, and there's also a lot of Hotel Cecile murders. I was thinking maybe, or suicides, etc. So I was thinking to do that, but we'll see. I don't know if we'll get to it or what. So Elisa Lam, if I'm saying that right, hopefully. So on February 19, 2013, the body of 21-year-old Canadian student Elisa Lam was recovered from a water tank atop the Cecile Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Guests had been complaining about the bad odor and taste of the tap water, so a maintenance worker investigated the issue. They discovered the half-rotten body of Lam floating inside the tank. She reported missing since the beginning of the month, from some kind of psychotic disorder to an accident to a pre-planned murder. Many have put forth conclusions in this case. So, yeah, I believe we have done the Sodder children, because some of them were in the fire, but some survived, but they never really saw them. We never really know what happened. That was in a different video I did as well. So the case of severed feet. Since August 2007, a number of severed human feet have washed ashore near Vancouver, British Columbia. I feel like we might have done this. I'm just going to finish this one. I can't remember now. No bodies, no heads, no clothes, just feet, nearly all still clad in sneakers. Canadian authorities could not determine how the feet ended up on the shoreline or why. They matched one of the foot to a person through DNA tests. The man had been missing for several months. Numerous theories have popped up about those feet, which indicates instances of foul play. More than a decade later, the mystery remains to be unsolved. Get a sip of my orange juice. I was nearly going to say coffee, but I didn't even have my hot coffee in a cup today, because I had iced coffee today. Highway of Tears. Between 1969 and 2011, along the 450-mile section of Highway 16, which connects Prince George to Prince Rupert in British Columbia, Canada, 18 women, mostly teenagers of Aboriginal descent, were murdered or went missing. The killer has never been identified, and the ominous stretch is called the Highway of Tears. June 1962, Alcatraz escape. So, in June 1962, the guards of Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary in San Francisco checked into the cells of 3 inmates named Clarence, John, and Frank, and everything seemed fine. But soon afterwards, the guards had realized that it wasn't the inmates who were in the beds, rather than 3 dummies merely constructed from soap and toilet paper. These 3 prisoners have never been found again. Their bodies weren't discovered anywhere. It is pronounced as one of the country's most notorious unsolved murders. The Axemen of New Orleans. So active in New Orleans and some surrounding communities, the serial killer committed his crimes between May 1918 and October 1919, but there were similar murders as early as 1911. He was never caught or identified, but on March 13th, 1919, a letter to esteemed mortal that was supposedly written by the Axeman was published in several New Orleans newspapers. Began with this chilling message: "They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleans and your village place call the Axeman." So, the Japanese pregnant woman murder case. On March 18th, 1988, a man came home to his apartment in Nagoya, Japan, to find the door unlocked and the lights off. After changing clothes, he heard a baby crying. He then discovered the mutilated body of his pregnant wife and his newborn son lying at her feet. His wife had been bound and strangled to death before the killer proceeded to cut open her abdomen and deliver the baby, even cutting the umbilical cord. The infant miraculously survived, but the killer was never found. The names of the victims were never publicly released by police. That is horrible. Absolutely insane. All these are horrible, but at least the baby survived, but it's tragic, you know. The Oakland County children murders. So 4 children from the Detroit area aged 10 to 12 were murdered in the years of 1976 and 1977. All their bodies were left in public areas, once within sight of a police station. Even one of the victims had been given fried chicken after his parents pleaded on TV for him to come home to his favorite meal, KFC. The killer was never identified. The Atlas Vampire. On May 4th, 1932, Lily Linderstrom, a 32-year-old divorcee making a living as a prostitute in Stockholm, was found bludgeoned to death in her apartment. Police discovered that her skull was crushed in, signs of sexual activity, and a blood-stained gravy ladle near the bed. Her blood was almost completely drained, and police determined that the murderer had used the ladle to drink her blood. Despite intensive police investigation, the murderer, dubbed the Atlas Vampire after the area the murder took place, was never identified. It's horrible. Ew. Okay, we've done the next one, so skip that one. Okay, the case of Janet DePalma in Springfield, New Jersey in 1972. A 16-year-old named Janet DePalma went missing until weeks later a dog brought back her right forearm to its master. Several witnesses have claimed her body was found surrounded by occult objects and on top of a pentagram, but authorities have denied those claims. Today, even the Springfield police don't want to say anything about this case. The killer or killers have never been identified. Was Janavite sacrificed in occult worship. The strange deaths of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. Don Henry and Kevin Ives were high school buddies who lived in central Arkansas. On the evening of August 23rd, 1987, the pair went out and were never seen alive again. The next person to see them was a conductor of a train who attempted to stop when he saw their bodies lying in the middle of the tracks, but was unable to stop in time. Initially, police suspected the boys had smoked weed and fallen asleep on the tracks, but their parents were not convinced and their bodies were exhumed. Investigators found the boys weren't nearly as intoxicated as they seemed, and they were likely killed before their bodies were placed on the tracks. Police suspect that the boys witnessed a drug drop and were murdered as a result, and the case remains unsolved. The Setagega family massacre. On December 30th, 2000, a gruesome murder occurred in the Setagaya ward of Tokyo, Japan. That night, Mikio Miyazawa, 44, and Yasuko Miyazawa, 41, and their children, Nina, 10, and Rai, 6, were all stabbed to death by an unknown assailant. The killer stayed in the house for several hours after the killing, even using the restroom without bothering to flush. Despite finding a great deal of evidence, including the killer's DNA, police will have never been able to identify him. Little Lord Fauntleroy. So in March of 1921, the body of a 6-year-old boy was fished from a pond in Waukesha, Wisconsin. He had been killed by a blow to the head and may have been in the water for several months. Because of his expensive clothing, he was dubbed Little Lord Fauntleroy. His pond display at a local funeral home, and a $1,000 reward was offered for information, but no one ever came forward. It later developed that an employee of the company of the pond claimed that 5 weeks before the body was found, a couple had come to him asking if he had seen a little boy, driven away heartbroken after he answered in the negative. The crime is still unsolved almost a century later. Who put Bella in the Wisht Elm? On April 18th, 1943, 4 local boys by the name of Robert Hart, Thomas Willets, Bob Farmer, and Fred Payne were poaching or bird nesting in Hagley Wood, part of the Hagley estate belonging to Lord Cobham near Witchbury Hill, UK, when they came across a large wych elm tree where they found a human skeleton in its hollow trunk. One of them reported the discovery to the police, but investigation it was revealed the corpse's mouth was stuffed with taffeta, and along with her body, a gold wedding ring and a shoe. The cause of death was suffocation, and the body was placed in the elm when it was still warm. When strange graffiti started appearing in crooks of the town with the question who put Bella in the wych elm, the town turned into a living nightmare, making it one of these unsolved mysteries that never got an answer. The Chicago Tylenol murders, and I was thinking to do maybe this one time as a true crime case. On September 29th, 1982, 7 people in the Chicagoland area were fatally poisoned by a series of cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules purchased from various locations. This random act of violence created a nationwide panic that caused Tylenol to pull $100 million in products off the shelves. Tamper-proof seals on bottles became the industry standard because of this incident. The murderer and motive have never been identified. Okay. Torso murderer terrorizes Cleveland. One of the most notorious serial killers in American history was the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run between 1935 and 1938. 12 victims, only 2 of whom were identified, were found dumped in a creek bed in an area of Cleveland, Ohio, known as Kingsbury Run. The bodies were often headless and limbless. It was the most gruesome murder spree in Cleveland's history, and one in which the killer was never caught. So, Jack the Ripper, one of the most notorious unsolved crime sprees in history, goes to Jack the Ripper. The identity of the killer, who terrified mystery to this day. The killer used to mutilate his victim's body in such an unusual manner, indicating that he had a substantial knowledge of human anatomy. Many speculate on who exactly the killer of fine woman in the Whitechapel area of London was, but no one had solved it and probably never will. However, a group of British researchers have suggested the notorious serial killer Jack the Ripper could be a 23-year-old Polish barber named Aaron Kosminski, who was committed to an asylum at the same time the killing stopped. The researchers used a HEK DNA test to link Polish-born Aaron Kosminski and a blood-stained shawl of a Ripper victim. They claimed it's a statistical probability Kosminski cold-bloodedly butchered at least 5 women in the Whitechapel area. So we have the Zodiac killer, but I'm not going to do that because I've already done that. The Boy in the Box. In 1957, a grisly discovery was made that to this day has stunned police and the public as well. The body of a young boy was found hidden in a cardboard box in a Philadelphia neighborhood. The boy, believed to be 4 to 6 years old, was never identified. Despite tireless searches and appeals to the public, tests found he was malnourished and abused, leading to theories that he was an abandoned orphan. No one knows who the boy was or how he ended up in the box. Borden House axe murders. So Andrew and Abby Borden were found hacked to death by an axe in the summer of 1892 in their Fall River, Massachusetts home. Their daughter Lizzie Borden was charged but later acquitted of the gruesome murders. Their daughter Lizzie, a quiet Sunday school teacher, was arrested on circumstantial evidence, and after only an hour of deliberation, the jury acquitted her. Whether this means Lizzie was innocent or not, we'll never know. However, her defenders have pointed to several other potential killers, including her uncle, illegitimate brother, scorned lover, and even the local doctor. Whatever happened in that house that day, someone got away with murder. This cold case, with numerous theories, movies, TV shows, and even a children's nursery rhyme about it, is endured in the mystery of who wielded the axe that fateful day has never been solved. So, the murder of Amber Ackerman on January 13th, 1996. Amber Ackerman, 9, was snatched off her bicycle in a grocery store parking lot in Arlington, Texas. Police had only an eyewitness account of a blue pickup truck driving away from the scene. Despite national attention, media coverage, and thousands of anonymous tips called in, a dog walker found Ackerman's body 5 days later, floating in a creek with her throat slit. No one's ever been caught for the abduction and murder of Amber. It was this case that launched the Amber Alert system, which is now a North American-wide coordinated system that warns the public when a child goes missing. The Beaumont children disappearance. In South Australia, the Beaumont children disappearance case still haunts the community. Jane, Arna, and Grant disappeared in the 60s. Every year there is a new story about where their bodies are, who took them, who they are still alive, that are extremely sad to hear. And there's different theories, aspects, and questions, but no one has a proper answer. So, stolen Boeing 727. 2003, a Boeing 727 was stolen from an Angola airport. It took off without clearance and flew out over the Atlantic with its lights and transponder switched off and was never seen again. Wow. So, the Mac Headroom broadcast signal intrusion. The television signal hijacking incident is one of the most popular unsolved mysteries you will find on the internet, and there's a reason why there's a Wikipedia page dedicated to it. November 22nd of 1987, Chicago television was airing an episode of Doctor Who when its broadcast was hijacked. An unidentified person wearing Max Headroom accessories appeared on the screen for 90 seconds, scarring the viewers who were up late night watching the show. The incident made national headlines, but despite mass attention, the hijackers were never identified. D.B. Cooper, again, we've been over him in a different video. video. 1987 Opera House heist. On 19th of March 1987, a group posing as Central Bureau of Investigations CBI officers executed a fake income tax investigation raid on the Opera House branch of DBC or Z and Sons Jewelers in Mumbai, India. They took off jewelry valued from IN or 30, 300,000 to INR 35,000,000, equivalent to $490,000 in 2020. This case has remained unsolved to date. Yuki Onishi just vanished into the thin air. On April 29th, 2005, Yuki Onishi, a 5-year-old Japanese girl, was taking up bamboo shoots to celebrate Greenery Day. After finding her first shoot and showing it to her mother, she ran off to find more. About 20 minutes later, her mother realized she was not with the other diggers, and a search began. Police dog was brought in to track the missing girl's scent, reached a spot in the nearby forest, and then stopped. 4 other dogs were brought in, all led the search party to the exact same spot. No trace of Yuki has ever been found. It's as if she vanished into thin air. The Deep Freeze murder. Jumping off her bus following a dance class, quiet and shy, Anne Noblet, 17, was last seen walking up a quiet lane towards her home in Marshall's Heath, near Wheat Hampstead, Hertfordshire. But she never made it home. A month after she vanished, Anne's body was discovered almost frozen solid, fully clothed, with her glasses still on, around 5 miles from where she was last spotted. She had been strangled and possibly sexually assaulted, but the grisly case baffled cops who couldn't figure it out how her ice-cold body was in such a state. Her dumped remains were found in January 1958, a time when most people didn't have access to refrigerated units, and the winter had been mild with a very rapid rise in temperature, yet Anne's body was still preserved 32 days after she vanished, leading the gruesome killing to become known as the Deep Freeze murder. Police began questioning owners of refrigerated vehicles, including ice cream vans, and searching farms where meat was kept in freezing temperatures, but no shred of physical evidence remains from the original police investigation, so a DNA profile of the killer couldn't be created. It means more than 60 years after the teenager first disappeared after getting off a bus in Marshall's Heath, the mysterious case still remains unsolved. And the next one is the Invercargill murders, which we have done before, so I'll skip that one too. The Stoneman murders. The Stoneman is a name given to an unidentified serial killer who murdered at least 13 homeless people of the city of Kolkata, India, during their sleep in 1989. The name is also given to the perpetrator of a similar series of murder in Mumbai from 1985 to 1988. It has been speculated that these were the work of the same person, who could have been responsible for as many as 26 murders. All of the victims were homeless, pavement dwellers who slept alone in dimly lit areas of the city, because the murderer killed victims by dropping a heavy stone or concrete slab. The police assumed the assailant was probably a tall, well-built male. However, in the complete absence of any eyewitnesses or survivors, no clear-cut leads were available. The cases remain unsolved to this day. The disappearance of Georgia Weckler on May 1st, 1947, in Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. 8-year-old Georgia Weckler was dropped off on her driveway after school. Then she was never seen or heard from again. The haunting part of her disappearance is, curiously, prior to her disappearance, Georgia made several remarks indicating that she especially feared being kidnapped. What prompted this, we'll likely never know. So, Villisca axe murders. 6 members of the Moore family and 2 house guests were found bludgeoned in 1912 in Villisca, Iowa, with severe head wounds from an axe. There was no sign of forced entry, and only 1 child was found out of bed. It's believed the murderer had climbed into the attic while they were at church and waited for everyone to fall asleep before coming down to commit the crime. One of the only clues loose was a pile of cigarette butts in the attic, though there were several suspects, including one who was tried twice and acquitted. The murder has never been identified. The disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley late in March of 1998. The 23-year-old went missing during a cruise on the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship Rappacciotti of the Sea. From Coast Guard, police to detectives to her friends and family, everyone has tried their best, but they have never been able to trace her. There's some reports of seeing Amy in public places such as tourist beaches, brothels, etc., but none has led to the end of its mystery. In 2005, some photos were posted on an adult website showing a woman with an uncanny resemblance to Amy Bradley. Many believe she was possibly forced into the sex trade. I'm just going to see how many are left. There actually is 50, and it said 40 whatever in the description, but yeah. The smiley face murder theory. The smiley face murder theory is a theory advanced by retired New York City detectives Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte and Dr. Lee Gilbertson, a criminal justice professor and GAN expert at St. Cloud State University. They allege that a number of young men found dead in bodies of water across several Midwestern American states from the late 1990s to 2010 did not accidentally drown, as concluded by law enforcement agencies, but were victims of a serial killer or killers. The term smiley face became connected to alleged murders when it was made public. The police had discovered graffiti depicting a smiley face near locations where they think the killer dumped the bodies. In at least a dozen of the cases, Gannon wrote a textbook case study on the subject titled Case Studies in Drowning Forensics. The response of law enforcement investigators and other experts has been largely skeptical. The unsolved case of Tara Lee Calico. Tara Lee Calico left on a bike ride one morning in September 1988. She told her mother to look for her on the bike route if she wasn't home by noon. The next time they saw her with an unidentified boy, both bound and gagged, in a Polaroid picture found in a convenience store parking lot in Port St. Joe, Florida. Tara's disappearance is still unsolved. No one knows what happened to them. The murder of Ricky McCormick. On June 30th, 1999, the body of Ricky McCormick was found in a field in St. Charles County, Missouri. McCormick had been missing only 72 hours, but his body was already badly decomposed. In 2011, the FBI revealed they had found 2 notes in McCormick's pockets written in a complex cipher. McCormick was a high school dropout who could barely write his own name. Despite the efforts of America's top cryptographers, the cipher remains a mystery to this day. Babushka Lady in JFK's assassination. Babushka Lady is a nickname for an unknown woman present during the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, who might have photographed the events that occurred in Dallas Deanery Plaza at the time JFK was shot. She was seen several times in various photographs, but none had captured her face because in all cases she was either facing away from the camera or had her face obscured by her own camera. She never came forward, and the U.S. investigators have never identified her. On the other hand, JFK's assassination has remained unsolved to this day. Who killed Betty, June, and Mary Emma? So, 14-year-old George Stinney Jr. is the youngest person to be sentenced to death and executed. He always carried a Bible in his hands, claiming to be innocent. The same Bible was used as a seat booster, as he was so small for the electrocution chair. George was convicted of killing 2 white girls, Betty June Binnicker and Mary Emma Thames. All the jury members in the trial were white. The trial lasted only 2 hours. Before his execution, he spent 81 days in prison without seeing his family. 70 years later, in December 2014, his innocence was proven by a judge in South Carolina. It's now clear that George Stinney Jr. wasn't the killer of the 2 innocent girls. It's also clear the family of the actual murder pushed George to his death. The question is, who is the real killer? The disappearance of Shinya Matsuka happened in Japan on March 7, 1989. 4-year-old Shinya Matsuka went for a walk with her parents, siblings, and cousin. But when returning home, Matsuka was left alone in the front yard for about 40 seconds while her parents carried a younger sibling inside. during this short time. Mitsuko disappeared. An extensive police search turned up nothing. The only potential clue was a strange phone call from someone telling them the parents of students in their daughter's kindergarten class needed to make a payment. No such payment was due. It was never determined whether the call was connected to the disappearance. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson. This is the last one for this video. Shortly after midnight on May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson of Marshall, Minnesota, United States, drove his car into a ditch on his way home from celebrating the end of the spring semester with fellow students from Minnesota West Community and Technical College campus. Uninjured, he got out and called his parents on his cell phone. Unsure of his exact location, he told them he believed he was near Lind, a city in Lyon County, and they drove out to pick him up. However, they weren't able to locate him. Swanson remained on the phone with them until Lee Ripley ended the call 45 minutes later after exclaiming, "Oh shit!" His car was later found abandoned in the ditch as he had described, but no city could ever be in the area where he was walking. He was not seen or heard from since, and the case remained unsolved. So no clue what's happening there. But yeah, this is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be